Hello, I'm horceror. I want to find out what makes every single killer tick. There's one big glaring issue with that though. I play the Nemesis, essentially only the Nemesis. I physically cannot get thousands of hours of experience on every single character. So, I'm going to be interviewing people that do have those thousands of hours. One for every single killer. Welcome to Stars of the Fog. Alright, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Stars of the Fog. Today's killer is purple, bald, and not the Nemesis.
What the fuck?
VECNA, the Lich.
Alright, so I might be bald, purple, and not Nemesis in the game, but out of the game, I think you're bald, purple, and you might actually be the Nemesis, so never mind, probably doesn't fit.
So my guest today, ArshieMeBob, is one of the most notable VECNA players out there, casting spells, turning people into skeletons, and hitting the gritty.
Oh yeah, that too. Saturday night, you should come to the club by the one place. Dude, I tear up the dance floor. It's like, you've never seen so many Dispelling spheres cast in one night.
Okay, yeah. So, rather than try to introduce them more than they're already doing themselves, I'm just going to let them introduce themselves. So, who are you? What are you known for? And what got you into VECNA?
Hi, I'm ArshieMeBob. I play VECNA when I hop on Dead by Daylight. I am known for being one of the only 3 VECNA players on planet Earth. And I really like playing VECNA because he has a lot of spells. And historically, I've played characters with a lot of abilities. So like if you play League of Legends, I play Aphelios and Hui. If you play Guilty Gear, I play Asuka. Basically, any like knowledge checky character that has like 50 different abilities and use cases for why you need to use each ability. I really like flexing my knowledge of my character and kind of being that knowledge check. Like if you know what you're doing on the character, you can basically kind of stomp, and I really like that. And I really like coming up with brand new ways to use, like for example, Flight of the Damned. And yeah, I just think it's really cool exploring like the true capabilities of what a character didn't do. And in Dead by Daylight, VECNA, I remember being funny story. I remember being in my 3rd period high school class when they announced like VECNA'S abilities, and I was like, holy shit, this is the character for me. You know that one graphic where they had like the 4 abilities on like the tan backgrounds? I remember like being sent that by my friends in 3rd period, and I was like, holy shit, they finally added a character for me. And yeah, I've been playing him to this day.
And that's what you've been doing since VECNA's been released. But what got you into Dead by Daylight? When did you start playing Dead by Daylight?
I started playing Dead by Daylight around Artist release. I was with my old group of friends. It was when it was free on Epic Games, which was around Artist release, because I remember she was the menu music. So I am, yes, indeed, one of the Epic Games hackers that people complain about. I'm not a hacker. But yeah, I did get into the game then because my friend who also played Dead by Daylight was like, hey, you guys should all play Dead by Daylight because it's free. So I installed the game. I played Survivor for a bit. I'm like, this shit's kind of boring. And then I started playing Killer. My first main was Wraith. And yeah, I kind of just got into playing Killer. And then over the years, I kind of just like played a bunch of killers randomly. Like I had like 7, 8 different mains that I would rotate through. I remember one of my favorite characters being Trickster, and actually Nemesis, funnily enough. And then when VECNA released, I kind of like threw everything away and then played him because he was cool.
Was there an initial appeal to VECNA, like outside of just the kit reveal, or was there like, because obviously if you started at Wraith and then we get to VECNA, I can't really think of 2 characters that are more different. So like, what was the process of getting from Wraith to VECNA, and like, what was the real sticking power of VECNA? Like, what made you feel like, okay, yeah, VECNA is the killer for me?
Well, I never really liked playing Wraith. It was mostly kind of just a gateway into being like, oh, I like playing Killer, right? Because Wraith is very bare bones in like his kit. Or at least for me personally, it didn't feel like I was playing Wraith more than I was just playing Killer. And the reason I played other characters is because there wasn't really a character that like stuck out to me. I liked playing Killer, but a lot of the characters didn't really like have any long-term enjoyments. That's why I would swap between. So when I saw VECNA, when I saw like a character that I could finally play for the character rather than, you know, just using them as a vessel to play the game, if that kind of makes sense, I was like, holy shit, this is great. Because I haven't had this experience with any other character. Like, I'd say my main before VECNA was definitely Trickster, and I did like playing him, but I would feel like it was more because I just liked playing killer, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't necessarily optimizing with Trickster. I wasn't doing like funny Trickster things. Like I wasn't shooting through holes in the wall. I wasn't really using trick blades. I was kind of just there for the ride, for the killer ride. But I stick with Vecna because he gives me the feeling that I can play a character and explore a character that I just don't want to with any other character. Like I'm not hopping on Dead by Daylight to play killer anymore. I'm hopping on Dead by Daylight to play Vecna.
Yeah, no, I get it 100%. What do you enjoy the most about Vecna? Like, what is the number one thing about him that's like the thing that keeps you coming back even?
Definitely how like free his spells feel to use. Like their use cases are not exactly like predefined. Like it's not like they put in the description of Flight of the Damned, you must use it at this time, at this particular loop. You can basically use the spells like whenever you want. You can use some of them in chase. You can use some of them out of chase. Some add-ons encourage you to use them out of chase. And he has so many different playstyles and his Eries change them a lot. I don't personally like running the Eries, but I think they are really cool being there. Just the fact that they are like kind of unintuitive, but the more you learn about them, the more you realize how many situations and like how much hidden value you can get out of the spells. And the fact that he really rewards like knowledge rather than mechanics. That's something I've always struggled with, is mechanics. So I think personally having a knowledge character is really cool, and it definitely keeps me coming back to him. Like, you know, like the Megamind big brain meme. That's how I feel pulling out spells sometimes. It's like there's clear moments of holy shit, I just outplayed the fuck out of this guy. And that's what keeps me coming back. I just love, especially going and watching like Survivor Twitch streams like after the game, if they have it in their name. I really love hearing like reactions of like, holy shit, this guy is so big brain, or dude, I didn't even know you could do that. Like the amount of times I see people's reactions to like, there's a tech on Vecna called, I think Indigo called it the cha-cha slide. And I've been rolling with the name ever since, to where you can fly through a window, but it doesn't play the animation. So it just literally looks like you're just like walking through the window. I still get reactions to that to this day. And it's so funny. And it's so like cool that he has not only like useful text, but also text that just look funny, like the gritty. You can hit the gritty on Survivors, which, you know, I think is kind of cool.
And are there any other texts that you might want to talk about as well? Because you've hit me with like basically everyone at this point, because this guy stream snipes from NA West a good bit. But yeah, what can Vecna do that's like interesting, I guess, character specific?
Character specific, there is a lot. I'd say like probably the most known one is Spancling. It is the act of canceling your spell animation. You can play the animation of casting another spell, but you're actually casting a different spell. Like if you spancel Mage Hand into Flight of the Damned, for example, it looks like you're casting Mage Hand, but then you shoot skeletons at them. And it's mostly like a muscle memory thing, but also depending on the spell you use and the spell that comes afterwards, it definitely does become kind of like a mind game thing. Like, holy shit, I see the animation for this. I'm not expecting this spell. Like if you Mage Hand into Flight of the Damned, usually the reaction to Mage Hand is, you know, you just hold W around the palette. So that's when the Flight of the Damned comes in, right? Like, or if you do it in reverse, Flight of the Damned into Mage Hands, then you can coerce the survivors into crouching or hesitating, and then you Mage Hands, and then you gain like that little bit of distance can help, because with Mage Hands, you really need as much distance as you can get. Like if you've ever Mage Handed while under any sort of haste, you know what I'm talking about? It is so like nice to use, and you catch up so quickly. You can use Mage Hand in so many more scenarios. So that's kind of what that makes you achieve. There was also the pause tech, which got removed. I'm still sad about that. I understand why they removed it, but like being able to just stop mid-place and fly was pretty useful. Again, understand why it was removed, but yeah.
So with a couple of things like pause tech being removed, and I'm sure there's things about every single character that you would like to see removed. So now I want to ask, really, because Vecna's what keeps you coming back to DB. Vecna's like your whole thing. It's like, this is what I'm here for. Every character has things about them that we don't really like as much. So I want to know, like, is there anything about Vecna that's like legitimately something you would remove, something that you really, really, really dislike about the character?
I'd say the biggest example of that would be not with the character himself, but like with his add-on, specifically Eerie Book of Vile Darkness, which, if you don't know what it does, it lowers your skeletons, but gives you only 2 of them, and then gives a bamboozle effect when you fly through a window for, I think, 60 seconds. I don't really like this add-on as much as it is good. Like, it is by far his best add-on. I personally think it simplifies his kit a lot more than it needs to, and yeah, it's really strong. Okay, this is kind of like on the same topic. Something personally I would like to see them not do to Vecna is keep lowering his cooldowns in favor of, you know, having lower cooldowns. Because part of the reason I got into him was kind of like, you have to really think about what you're using, because if you mess up, then you're kind of screwed. And lowering the spell cooldowns does reduce his skill floor, which I don't know how excited I am about that, because I kind of like having the high skill floor, high skill ceiling characters, or mostly high skill floor. But lowering the cooldowns kind of like reduces the amount of punishment from using your spells, which I think takes away a lot of the thought process. I mean, you can still optimize your spells and whatnot, but you're no longer trying to like hyper optimize, keep really careful attention of your spells, because if you don't have your spells, you're just a normal M1 killer. And with the way they've been balancing him recently, I definitely like the first fly lowering that they did, where they lowered fly from like 38 seconds to 25. I think that was okay, but they've been lowering his spells like lower and lower. And the most recent change to Vecna, actually, where they lowered his fly cooldown from 25 to 20 seconds and made it faster, I definitely think that was a bit of a questionable change. I kind of just don't want them to lower this cooldowns more than they already are. Like, we went from like 38-second fly cooldown to 20.
Yeah, that's a crazy buff.
Almost 50% decrease. And I think fly can be on a lower cooldown. I mean, the Vecna changes really made a lot of people start to like dislike him a bit more, because he was kind of giving Kaneki in the way he would like fly after you after doing literally anything. And that's true. Like, he doesn't really ever have fly on cooldown anymore. And it goes so fast that playing distance against him is kind of irrelevant. Like, it's not like Kaneki irrelevant, but it still feels pretty bad to play against. And the fact that his spell cycle, like, I would rather them buff the spells rather than buff the cooldowns, because I think encouraging careful use of spells instead of like just spamming spells, he's not in like a spammy spell state.
But you don't want him to get to that point.
Yeah, definitely don't want him to get to that point, because then like it's kind of like Dracula almost, although it's like nothing like Dracula, but the way Dracula can like rapidly shift through his forms, he kind of reminded me of Vecna, but he overall isn't like the same thing, because there's like very clear cut situations of when to do each form. Like, oh, if you need to fly around, do bat form. If you need to hit over a small wall, loop hellfire. It's not like the same freedom. But the fact that those tools are like readily available and don't really have cooldowns, especially like, oh my god, the pounce is like so short cooldown. Anyways, I think reworking Eerie Book of Vile Darkness and changing Vecna's base kit so that he's not like gaining an overwhelming amount of strength out of this one add-on, because it's genuinely like his strongest add-on. And if I liked running it, I definitely would. I don't run it for personal reasons, because I really like how Flight of the Damned works base kit, and I don't really want to run the Eerie Book. There's definitely a lot of changes I would want to make to Vecna, and I don't want them to, push him towards the spell spamminess. Like, if they lower his cooldowns one more time, I might like, start tweaking on Twitter. But yeah, just keep him long cooldown, please. It might be harder to balance, and honestly, it might like make his skill floor way too high, but I think it's fine having a high skill floor character. Like, I don't think we need to be making him easier necessarily. Like, I'm not saying this in like a gatekeepy way. I just really like, I mean, obviously they can do whatever they want, but I think there's enough low skill floor, medium skill floor. I think it's fine him being at the upper level of skill floors. And I don't really want to see that be lowered any more than it is.
And you did just like mention it yourself of you don't want that to be what they would change. But like, if you had executive control, like you go in to the meeting room and be like, okay, here's what we're changing about Vecna. What are you going to do?
Definitely buff the spells in some capacity while also increasing their cooldowns. Because the thing about the dangers of like spell spamming Vecna is it becomes too much to think about on the survivor ends. Like, I'm not talking about, oh, the survivors won't learn, but it's just like, it feels more like dealing with like an onslaught. It's like the difference between if you're trying to cross like a crevice and you're being shot at by a firing squad, that's kind of a lot to think about. Whereas if it's a single calculated sniper, then it feels like a lot more of a 1v1, right? Or a lot more fair. That's kind of like what I want for Vecna, like that calculated sniper where you're like sitting at a chessboard, right? And then you move your rook, which is like Flight of the Damned, at this really stupid spot, and you say checkmate. Like, encouraging that sort of thing where like you're outplaying with individual spells rather than overloading with a bunch of spells.
You want a normal chessboard instead of just replacing every pawn with a queen.
Basically, yeah, basically. So I would probably increase his cooldowns just by a tad. I don't think they're in the most nefarious state, and he's definitely like weaker the more survivors get to know him. But adding like, this is a really difficult discussion because I don't even know what you could add. It's like a NASA situation. Like, you make him too strong and he just like dominates lower level. And like, if you're more skilled than the survivors, obviously you should win more of the time. But if you play Vecna Vecna, you probably know what I'm talking about, but he is like by far one of the best noob stompers or like pub stompers. I don't know what the term is.
Because of the knowledge check thing, yeah.
Because of the knowledge check, yeah. How do you make him stronger without making him more of a knowledge check? And to be fair, I do like the knowledge check aspect, but I wouldn't want them to necessarily increase that. Because if you decrease it, obviously you're risking losing skill expression. But if you're increasing it, it becomes like you're over relying on the gimmick to perform. And I think that's something that Eerie Book does right. It definitely lowers the gimmick. Like, oh, you remove the crouching so you can snipe people with the skeletons. But I think it makes it too strong outside of the gimmick. I definitely think Vecna is a sort of gimmicky character in the sense that he performs really well in the knowledge check. Definitely some buffs to get him out of the knowledge check just a tad and give him like more guaranteed value, because you'll see this in like comp matches as well, where like most Vecnas use guaranteed value plays in order to get the hits. Like a lot of the time in pubs, you can definitely get away with knowledge checky spell usage to where, you know, it's not guaranteed value, but most of the time you're probably going to get like the injure or down because they don't have that knowledge. But yeah, I don't know, some kind of buffs that help with the guaranteed value of Vecna spells, I would definitely be in favor of. Definitely one thing I can think of off the top of my head is letting you hit someone faster after fly, because I cannot count the amount of times I've predicted someone vaulting back into me in fly, and because the fly cooldown is so long, they vault into me slowly as I'm canceling, and then they vault away back, and then I hit the window and I look really stupid, and that's kind of frustrating. I would like to see that changed a tad. Something with the interaction of windows, probably just a lower post fly cooldown. I think that change was kind of silly. I don't think he's like nearly strong enough to warrant a nerf to the post fly cooldown. But yeah, just basically buffs that help like actually outplaying the survivor, so it doesn't feel like you're just being hit in the face.
Yeah.
Even if you play correctly.
And when you're getting hit in the face as survivor, what do you think? Like, obviously the knowledge check part, if you don't know what to do, and you can tell us a little bit more about how to play against Vecna and beat the knowledge check a little later, but I just want to ask right now, with the knowledge check stuff, what do you think is the most frustrating part about playing against Vecna? Is it just like not knowing what he does, or is there something specific?
It depends on how much the person knows about Vecna. I'll talk about both. Like, let's say you're not passing the knowledge check, right? What's the most annoying part about Vecna? I mean, obviously you would say the knowledge check, but let's get deeper than that. I would say mostly Fight the Damned and Mage Hands. I think Mage Hands is something that the devs kind of foresaw was going to be a problem and people would find it really annoying. That's why it was the only spell actually to have an increased cooldown. I went from 38 to 40 back when all the add-ons got reduced by like 3 seconds. And I kind of agree. Like, it's not exactly intuitive what you can do against Vecna just like lifting a pallet up or holding it. I think people are more concerned with the pallet lift because they don't really know like how to outplay it. Like a lot of the time, if you drop the pallet and it gets lifted up, you're kind of screwed anyway. So it's all about minimizing, you know, that situation from happening. I think if you're not passing that knowledge check, that is really annoying, as well as Flight of the Damned, because it really does feel unfair at times. And it's not just a knowledge gap too, it's also kind of a reaction gap. Like, you have to react to crouching, especially if Vecna's like doing it through a wall or doing like some unexpected angle. Like, obviously if he's doing it at a pallet, that's like mostly predictable, but if he's doing it like on the long wall gyms, the one with like a small rubble pallet and then long wall,
I have no idea. If
he's doing it through like the wall of that, then it can get unpredictable, and it is mostly based on prediction and reaction time. But those are definitely the most annoying parts. Now, for if you are passing the knowledge gap, I think the most annoying part is Fly. I think a lot of people find Fly annoying, especially after the changes, because he goes so fast. Like, I have a clip of me getting decisive striked, and then I fly after the survivor, and I don't even go through like 3/4 of my fly, and I'm already there. And a lot of people also don't know how to play around it when they have a pallet. Fly can easily be shut down by simply just not even vaulting a window, just standing next to a window, because the post fly thing means even if you mess up, even if like you get hard predicted on which side of the window you're on, you can easily just vault over the window and just get on the other side, and Vecna like cannot do anything about it and has a pretty good margin of error. But I think the annoying part mostly comes from just people don't like mobility, people don't like cutoffs, people don't like getting body blocked. And that's still like guaranteed value. Like, if you get hit by Vecna and there's nothing in the immediate vicinity, that's pretty annoying. He catches you in a dead zone. That's pretty annoying, right?
Right.
There's not much you can do about his fly if there's not like an immediate resource there right next to you. And obviously on some maps, it's not really an issue, but like, you know how DBD map generation is in 2025.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just get like nothing in an area, and then he just hits you. And this gets even worse because one of the best perks for Vecna, in my opinion, is Rapid Brutality, mostly because it let you hit someone and then fly right on top of them. You don't need Rapid Brutality to do that anymore. You have more than enough distance to fly on top of someone. And I think that can get really annoying because if you just get hit and then get flied on top of, that's why a lot of people don't like Momo-teching. Because you do an action and then you immediately catch up, even though you're supposed to lose a lot of distance. Even if you do have a resource next to you, so you're not getting immediately hit upon flight, I do think a lot of people find it annoying still that you can't really play for distance. So yeah, if you pass that knowledge check, I think fly is the most annoying part of this kit. But I don't really play against much Vecna because no one plays Vecna. Please play Vecna.
And when you do play Survivor against a Vecna, you know, the once in a blue moon that happens, like how do those games usually go? Like, do you get recognized? Do you enjoy them? Like, do you have fun? Like, what's playing Vecna like for you?
I definitely have a lot of fun. Like, Vecna is by far my favorite killer to go against, mostly for the same reasons I play him, actually. I just like thinking about all the different possibilities he can do and avoiding them, and outplaying him feels super good. Like, I will say, outplaying a Vecna feels so nice because you know that they were also thinking about what to do in that situation. It's like sitting at the chessboard. It's like Light Yagami versus L. Like, you're in a perpetual state of like, oh, what is he gonna do? Does he know that I know this? And that's another thing about Vecna. Like, you kind of have to switch up how you're playing based on how much the Vecna or the survivor knows. So you're trying to like suss out like what they might be thinking and like what kind of shit they may go for. Because you don't really have to think about, like, for example, Vecna just going into the basement and getting a Flight of the Damned, or Vecna faking Mage Hands into Flight of the Damned, if you know that they're not the type of person to go for that, right? So you don't need to think about that. But if you like gaslight the other side into thinking you don't know about that and then hitting them with it, that's an entirely different thing. Bottom of the line, I really like playing against Vecna. I get recognized like at a shockingly high rate. I mean, okay, not high rate to what I'm used to. I remember getting recognized in Marvel Rivals of all games, which was like, that was kind of an experience.
I mean, yeah, I was there. I'm pretty sure.
Were you?
I don't know, but like,
I don't remember.
I mean, you've also been there when I had the exact same thing happen to me in Rivals. So like, I'm like, let me pull up Steam. Actually, I took a screenshot. I can get you the exact quote for what I got called.
Hold on, I also saved these things.
Yo, is that horceror, the Nemesis Tunneler? Oh my god, man.
The Nemesis Tunneler is crazy.
It is crazy.
I definitely don't expect to get recognized because my ego is just like that, you know, hashtag humble, 6 foot and humble. No, but like, I definitely didn't expect to like have anyone recognized. So the fact that it happens already is like a big thing. And some people telling me that I'm the reason they got into Vecna, that's always a really like sweet thing to hear. Cause like, oh my God, I helped someone find the character they like. But yeah, a lot of the times, a lot of the Vecnas I play against aren't like necessarily like turbo sweats like me, you know, 360, whatever. I still love playing against Vecna. I don't play against much Vecnas that like I feel like know like the full extents. And that's kind of why I like helping people and telling people that, yeah, I think Vecna's got potential. I think Vecna, you can do a lot with Vecna. Like, he's no like nurse, he's no anyone higher than like A tier or like low A tier, but I do like think he has a lot of things you can optimize and a lot of things you can think about while you're playing him and a lot of things you can do and a lot of really wacky stuff you can perform. That's kind of why I got into content creation. I just like showing people the full extent of what my favorite character can do.
You can probably give like a 5-paragraph essay on it, but if you were getting someone into Vecna, what would be like the general first time advice you would give someone learning the killer?
Oh God, how much time do you have? Basic stuff. It's a really good question. I actually don't know. I'd say the biggest thing would be clearing up any like misconceptions and also like give general spell guidelines. Because the thing about Vecna and the thing that I see most commonly amongst new Vecnas is that it's really hard to like get a hang of the spells. Like, the spells are like not really intuitive unless you've been using them for like tens of hours. I don't know. Like, for example, Flight of the Damned. Flight of the Damned is like not at all an intuitive spell to use. Like, you think, oh, it's like an artist scroll, I'm just going to shoot it at the survivor. Wrong. It does nothing in that situation. So I think kind of just giving the basics of like how to use the spells. Like, for example, use Flight of the Damned to zone survivors, use it so they can't do actions, use it on top of them so that they have to crouch it. And even if they do crouch it, you're still getting distance. Like, don't just shoot it at the survivors, that kind of stuff. Or like, be patient with Mage Hands, make sure you're close enough to the survivor. Don't Mage Hands a raw pallet on the floor if the survivor's right next to it, because they can drop it back on you and it is really embarrassing.
Imagine getting stunned by the same pallet twice, bro.
Stunned Stun me once, shame on you. Stun me twice, shame on me. Fuck my mage hands. And also, like, correct use of Dispelling Sphere. Like, don't just use it to snipe the generator in the distance, because if they have the item, they can just walk like 2 feet to the left, and then you think no one's on the generator, and then it gets completed 20 seconds later. It's better used as a, like, you're using it as you're going to the generator. That way, it can scan someone. It can tell you when they're running. It can tell you where they're running. This is really helpful when the generator is like behind a wall, and it also disables their magic items. That's another thing. I think disabling magic items is something that it's definitely a habit thing. Like once you start doing it, like disabling items in chase, you kind of just like stop thinking about it. It's only really important for the mage hands one that gives 7% haste for 4 seconds when you cast mage hands, because that's the one that's kind of screwing you in chase. The other ones are kind of out of chase deals, so you won't be able to like deactivate them as easily. But just getting in the habit of doing that so that your mage hand is like an actual usable spell. And for fly, definitely be careful around, you can like never win around windows and pallets, so it's really dangerous to try unless the survivor is like a respectable distance away from the pallet. In that case, you'd be able to body block them and they can't like vault back into you in time. So definitely like proper fly usage as well, mostly around pallets and windows. I feel like otherwise it's pretty self-explanatory. I think a lot of VECNA'S don't really use fly and chase that much, which kind of sucks because it's a really good, it could be used really good in chase. Like if you're looping shack and someone's greeting backside of shack, you can just cut them off. You can still use it to vault windows and stuff, especially if the survivor is like running away from the window. If you use it at shack, like if the survivor vaults the window and then you vault after them, then you're in a prime place to where if they go back inside shack, then you can drop fly them through the wall on top of their head. There's like a lineup thing for that. Not really a lineup, but it's like a muscle memory thing. And then you can hit them over the shack. Just the knowledge that you can use it to vault windows like faster and still have momentum at the end of it, I think is pretty good. Also, canceling your fly before you go over the window, that way you're able to gain collision faster, because otherwise you kind of just like, if you let fly auto cancel when you vault over something, then you kind of just zoom past it. And even if the survivor is a respectable distance away from the pallet or window, they can retrace their steps, vault back through, because you're not really there to body block because you just zoomed through it. So canceling your fly before you go over those obstacles, kind of like clipping in the obstacles before you get collision, which then kind of pushes you, because obviously you're not going to be in the pallet or window forever. So if you're in it when you gain collision, then it like immediately pushes you, like glitch pushes you. So kind of optimizing that. I think that's really it, actually. Learn, like, don't use it mindlessly at range. Basically, mage hand, be careful with it. Be patient. Make sure you're close enough to the survivor. If the survivor pre-drops the pallet, then there's not really a lot you can do with mage hand unless you're like really close and you can lift it in time. And using fly more in chase, and then also using Dispelling Sphere when you're going to a place. Instead of using it to specifically check for a place that you're not going to, more use it as an aid to help you when you're going to check a place. It scans any survivors that might be hiding nearby, especially if someone's like walking away from the generator. Like as they hear your terror radius, it's really useful to like detect them, because by the time you get there, they might have already left and they might be like hiding around a corner. Whereas if you Dispelling Sphere and then walk towards there, you have the chance of scanning them before, you know, they get to Narnia or whatever. So yeah, it helps to use Dispelling Sphere like that as well.
And with the talk of like vaulting windows, I know earlier we talked about iridescent book of vile darkness, but with add-ons in general, how do you feel about VECNA'S add-ons and how balanced they are? And do you have any personal favorites and or any honorable mentions that you'd like to talk about a little more? Because you did talk about the book earlier, but add-ons.
VECNA'S add-ons they're kind of there, honestly. Like a lot of them don't really change your playstyle necessarily. Like a lot of them are like your fly now lasts longer, your skeletons now have an extra one, your mage hand lasts a little longer, you gain haste when using your mage hand, your Dispelling Sphere now lobotomizes the survivors. I don't know, kind of basic stuff until you get to like the Eries. I think the Eries are really kit changing. A lot of his add-ons do kind of just give like the number boost, which is fine. And honestly, he has purples that like sort of changes playstyle, like Cloak of Invisibility, which gives you undetectable when all of your spells on cooldown. That one's really cool. His add-ons, I would say the biggest way I can describe them is like feel good add-ons. Like if you really like running a specific set of add-ons, even if they're not good, you can still run them, because it's not like there's like severely better options to where you're missing out on a large amount of character potential if you're not running these. This is completely disregarded for his Eries as they're significantly stronger. Even Vorpal Sword turns his Mage Hand into a lot more consistent of a tool, and it turns Dispelling Sphere into a nice way to keep survivors injured, and it is a really good tunneling tool, and tunneling is fun. Personal favorites, the ones that feel the best to me are Feather and Robe of Eyes. Robe of Eyes gives really nice aura reading. Every time you cast your spells, this add-on got super buffed. Every time they buff the cooldowns, this add-on gets buffed because it procs every time you use a spell, and the more you have your spells, the more you're going to use them, so you get more aura reading. And then the Feather gives more 0.5 more seconds of flight. I really like running that one. It feels really comfortable. There is definitely a lot of like stinker add-ons that he has, like for example Tattered Headband. Tattered Headband has done nothing his entire existence. It increases the distance of flight of the damned by 4 meters.
Wow.
Now, the problem with this is that you're never using it past like half of its total fly time. I mentioned this earlier, but you really shouldn't be using it to like snipe survivors at a range unless you're like extremely into it. There's an entire thing, but most of the time you're not going to need that. There's also an add-on, Crystal Ball, that adds 1 second of Killer Instincts to Dispelling Sphere. 1 second is like nothing. This add-on was like made partially base kit, so I can kind of understand, but it is like effectively a dead add-on slot. And I think Vecna has a bit too many of those. Not to the same extent as other killers. Like I'm not saying the Nemesis mains are eating up all our good add-ons, because they're definitely not. And there's definitely characters that need like an add-on pass way more than him. But it doesn't really feel nice having like, I mean, they're still feel good add-ons, but there's still so much like dead weight to where there's only like 13 good things you can run, while the other ones are like, they don't even like have a good feel to them. They just feel like the exact same as normal Vecna. So I would definitely want maybe a rework to a couple of them, because a couple of them just don't work on like a fundamental level. Like I think Dragon Tooth Dagger is kind of flawed because it gives Mangled and Hemorrhage when you M1 someone with a magic item. The first problem is the magic item thing. That's basically all the time, because it's really easy to get a magic item, and you should get a magic item only if they're like next to a generator, but they do spawn next to generators and you don't have to like go on an entire trek to find them. So most of the time you're going to be getting that, and at that point it's just a slightly worse Sloppy Butcher. Like it lasts for like 60 seconds. They did buff it. I think previously it was like 45 seconds, which was really bad. I don't know. I just don't think that add-on is interesting. I think it would be interesting if it was like tied to Violent Caster, which is the blood point bonus when you M1 someone 15 seconds after using a spell, or like anything else that's kind of just more than M1 the person. They're now hemorrhaged and mangled. It's not really interesting. And I like what they're doing with, they like buffed Cloak of Elvenkinds pretty hard. It was like 8 meters lower tear radius while you're flying. Now it's like significantly lowered. I think they could just make it like pure undetectable at this point. Like Vecna's already announcing his mother's maiden name when he flies in the first place, his 3rd grade teacher, his first pet name, where his parents met. Like he's really loud during fly. So I don't think making him undetectable would be like the worst thing ever, because you can still tier him, and maybe not undetectable because it would counter the magic item. Maybe just like a significantly lower tear radius. As I said, he has a lot of good feel good add-ons. If you like running this particular set of add-ons, you're not really missing out on much. He has like a top 5 pretty good, and then it like kind of dwindles from there to where like different Vecnas can use what they want. And that's kind of what I like about Vecna. Like if something works for you, then you can keep running it, right? Like every Vecna has their own playstyle. They have parts of the kit they like. If you like Mage Hand, you can go for double Mage Hand add-ons. If you like having more map mobility and scanning, you could run Feather and Crystal Ball. Like you can pick the add-ons that tailor to your playstyle pretty well and not feel like you're missing out on a whole lot, which I really like about the add-ons, and I hope they kind of keep that if they ever change the add-ons. But yeah, honestly, not the worst add-ons in the world. I really like the set we have.
So his add-ons are decent, but I want to ask about the other half of what you run when you play killer, so perks. You did briefly bring up earlier Rapid Brutality being like decent, pretty good on Vecna. I do want to ask like what you usually run on Vecna as far as perks go, and like if there is one, what is the perk in the game that Vecna uses better than any other killer?
Well, in terms of like me personally using perks, I'm not creative at all. I've been using the same build for a year. Rapid, Stabiffle, No Way Out, Pain Res. It's not necessarily because like half of them interact with Vecna's kit in a special way. I just like running them. But Rapid, I do want to mention as being like really good on Vecna, and that is the perk I would kind of, and Dissolution actually. Dissolution is another good one, but I'll talk about that later. Rapid gives you the haste when M1ing someone, which is obviously pretty good. But the thing is, it carries over while you're flying. So 5% of 115 is like whatever. 5% of like whatever the hell Vecna has when he's flying, it's been a while, I forgot the numbers. survivors. That's a significant amount. And before the fly buffs, it would help you fly on top of a survivor, but that's no longer necessary. But still, flying 5% faster and moving 5% faster after hitting someone, especially on a character like Vecna, where you're not really getting bloodlust, or at least the way I play, I don't really get bloodlust. It's really helpful. It helps a lot in hit running, snowball, general chase, you know, catching up groups of survivors. That's also why I like running Stabiffle, because I really like being on top of someone after I hit them. It just helps you do a lot of things, especially in chase faster. Like if you hit someone and then they hold like W towards Shack, you can fly and cover like a tremendous distance and go pressure a different survivor. I think it really benefits him in like, I'm not going to say like a way that it doesn't benefit every other killer, but I definitely think it helps a lot on him, and I think he can make a really interesting use of it. Another one is Dissolution. Now you might be thinking, why would you need to break the pallet when you can lift it? A lot of Vecnas love running Dissolution. I haven't run it like a lot personally, but it makes pallets into a genuine checkmate scenario. Like, you know how I was talking about the counterplay with Fly or whatnot, and how you could just like vault back through? Well, guess what? You can't vault back through anymore. So it does become like a really interesting checkmate scenario where you're flying after a survivor. They have a pallet, they drop it, you fly over it. Now what do? You know? Like they're kind of just screwed. And I think one of the best uses of it, in my opinion, just because of how he interacts around pallets, I'm struggling to think of who else uses Dissolution well. I guess Dredge, because you can also force survivors to vault. But Vecna like can also like force survivors to vault, especially because, you know, it's one of the only ways you can counterplay Fly. The only ways you can stop Vecna from just like straight up flying on top of you and M1ing you. So the fact that that gets removed, especially after you hit someone and then fly after them, and then the only thing nearby is a drop pallet, in a lot of situations, that would be like, yeah, you can counter Vecna easily. You just vault back through. But now that drop pallet effectively doesn't exist. So you're kind of just screwed. And I think Vecna creates that situation a lot more than other killers, to where you're really forced to vault that pallet or you're screwed, which is why I think it synergizes really well on him. And I'm sure a lot of people can agree.
I've been hit by it personally, but I feel like it's going to happen eventually.
Maybe if it becomes mainstream, it's still kind of in the trenches at the moment.
And would you say that there's a perk for Survivor that counters Vecna back?
Yeah, Urban Evasion is the worst perk ever created, and I think it should die. Okay, but you have to be like good at the game still. Like I'm not saying it's good because you can crouch in the corner and hide from him. No, it's because Flight of the Damned, obviously you want to be hitting survivors with it if you can, but it gets to a point where you're using it more for like the zoning or on elevation or to stop survivors from vaulting a window. So having that extra crouch speed automatically makes it a lot worse for zoning. It makes it a lot easier to dodge. If you're like crouching and you're like crouching mid-chase every time Vecna brings up the spell, you're losing a lot less distance, which is always good. And then obviously like a lot of good perks kind of screw him over, but they screw over every other killer. I assume you mean like perks in specific. So Urban Evasion's the one I can think of off the top of my head, because it's so detrimental to his zoning on Flight of the Damned, to where it kind of like limits the ways you can use them, and you can't always get those situations. So it screws that over a lot.
Unless you have the lower skeleton Zeri.
Oh, yeah, true. Then it doesn't counter him at all, but yeah, that add-on is really strong. I would say just like classic perks like Shoulder kind of hurt him. Trying to think of anything else. Dead Hard as well. Dead Hard. Because, I mean, obviously it fucks over every killer, but the way skeletons work, obviously, if you get hit on purpose by it, especially by a Dead Hard, you can get a lot of distance out of it. Especially if Vecna's using it to zone you. Like, if he's using it at all to zone you, or at all at a distance, like if he's trying to elevation you, then you just Dead Hard the skeletons and you get away. There's not much more to that. I guess any endurance as well, but Dead Hard's like activatable. You can use it whenever. So it definitely does kind of hurt Vecna, especially because I didn't even mention Mage Hands. If you're Mage Handing a pallet, sometimes you'll get like the area to where you have to swing. Otherwise, like the Mage Hand will run out and they can drop it on you. So the fact that like you have to like long swing around like whatever loop makes it really easy to Dead Hard. And also he has a lot of areas where it's like super easy to M1. Like if you lift a pallet and then you're face to face, as soon as his Mage Hands animation ends, you can Dead Hard. You can obviously Dead Hard the skeletons. You can Dead Hard if he flies on top of you, because a lot of Vecnas will just M1 immediately. And especially around Mage Hand, it's really easy to predict when Vecna's going to M1, because it's going to be when he's in lunge distance. Because if he can't like bait Dead Hard, he can't just go up to you and then like short swing, because then you're going to get to the pallet after the Mage Hand stops holding the pallet. So it becomes like he has to long swing around this loop, in which case you can dead hard, which even running Eerie Book won't help with.
Yeah, so just dead hard and Urban Evasion if he's not running Eerie Book.
Yeah, Urban does kind of. You don't see it much, but when you do see it,
You're like, oh my god, stop that.
oh my god.
Stop.
Stop.
So say survivors are running like perks that are actually countering you and they're, you know, going for wins crazily enough. How do you feel about win streaking on Vecna? And do you feel like compared to other killers, it is comparatively easy to win streak on Vecna? Do you enjoy win streaking and just anything along those lines?
I definitely do enjoy win streaking. And it's kind of weird because a lot of the time, especially on NA West, win streaking's kind of easy, I want to say. But then there's like that 1% of games where like the survivors actually know what they're doing. And that happens like at a such disproportionate rate to where you have to like lock in for every single game because you don't know when they're going to be like good at the game. And it feels really easy to have like the game slip out of your hands as Vecna, especially against survivors that really know what they're doing. And Vecna does kind of struggle against those coordinated Swifts that know specifically what Vecna is all about and how to counter him and how to play against them. So those games are always stressful, and I think they are like mostly the win streak killers. Like you're never like losing a if you know what you're doing on Vecna, you're not losing a streak against like 4 uncoordinated survivors, right? But those games where you're like really tested for not only your Vecna knowledge but your killer macro, having to be in the place at the right time. I think Vecna, it is disproportionately hard. Like I couldn't really I imagine a win streak where like the players are more consistently good would be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, Momo said the same thing about his Blight streak, as if he played the team that beat it, he wouldn't have made it to 50 if he played them every game.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, obviously at that point it would be like against that team streak and not a pub streak. Like there's a reason it's a pub streak, because you're dealing with the high variety of whatever server you're on, the high variety of different teams, of different solo queues you might play against. So it's not like it's like inherently dishonest. Like it's not, win streaking is not like a dishonest thing. Like, look, I went and beat up middle schoolers for an entire 3 days. No, it's like everyone knows what they're getting into. And I think Vecna is like disproportionately fucked, especially because it's a knowledge check, not only on the Vecna's end, but the survivor's end. So it's kind of like the game's ends too easy if the survivors don't succeed the knowledge check, and if the survivors do succeed the knowledge check, then it becomes like, holy shit, I might lose my streak here. Especially if you're not playing well, not only on the Vecna side, but just like killer macro in general. So it's definitely very stressful because, at least personally, I have to like make a conscious effort to not be autopilot, because it's really easy for me to autopilot considering like the vast majority of games on NA West, like, you know how it is. It's not exactly, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like the most engaging thing to be locked in for at all times. And then you get hit in the face. Like you're getting juiced by like a Nia who has like legacy cosmetics.
Or I'm getting juiced by an Anon Jane who turns out to be the best Jane the world has ever seen.
Exactly. And then like 2 gens pop in the distance, you're 3, you're hitting the My Sinister win condition, and you're like, holy shit, I need to lock in. So yeah, that's definitely rough. It's definitely stressful. I would say on Vecna, like the difficult games just in the nature are like more stressful on average, but it's not like too different than what every other killer would like sort of experience, because you have like the easy games and you need to lock in for a couple games. It just feels like really difficult to like come back, especially as Vecna. Like I feel myself when I'm playing Vecna on a win streak and I get like a really rough game, I'm like locking back from Vecna mode into killer mode. Like I have to use more of like the base kit killer mechanics, like tunneling, slugging, trying to like actively gain pressure, not as a Vecna, but as a killer. Like I'm no longer going for like crazy 360 fucking whatevers. Like I'm not going for like Spencel Maychen into fight and I'm hoping it worked. No, it didn't work the past 2 times. It's like I'm locking in, I'm using like base kit M1 killer mechanics. Instead of using the spells to injure, I'm using the spells as a supplement to injure, if that kind of makes sense.
You're saying that you need to know how to play killer to know how to use your abilities to their fullest?
Yes.
Whoa.
I mean, like less using the abilities to their fullest, because using the abilities to their fullest works up until a certain point. Okay, it depends on what you mean by fullest, because if you're talking like difficult to execute things that don't work against everyone, you can kind of like no longer use those at a certain point when the survivors know what they're doing. Like you have to kind of revert back into the using this spell at this time gives me guaranteed value. They cannot avoid this. I will do it. I will use Maychant at this God palette so that they cannot drop it. That is guaranteed value compared to like if you do it on like a jungle gym palette, they can run around and then the mage hand doesn't really matter because they can drop it back. Like that's not guaranteed value. It kind of forces you to play for that guaranteed value, which honestly, I don't mind that much. Again, it reverts less into like flexing what you know as Vecna. So it's kind of like reverting a little bit into like the more base Vecna, guaranteed value Vecna, and mostly like just basic M1 killer mechanics rather than, you know, you're playing Vecna, you're doing all kinds of weird shit.
I mean, that's fine. I was just going to ask you next, like, how strong you think Vecna is. You did say, like, earlier, like, obviously he's not S tier. Like, maybe he's not A tier, but, like, I'm not asking, like, necessarily just in terms of tiers, but just like, hey, I play a lot of Vecna. I think he's strong. Here's why. Like, what is the strength? What is the goods and the bads and the everything about Vecna that makes him as powerful as he is?
I do definitely think he's powerful to a certain extent, just because even though against some players you won't be able to do the really fancy stuff, I do think he has enough guaranteed value to be at least good. Like, I don't know where I would place him nowadays. Definitely above Unknown. I think Unknown is like, especially with the recent talk about how like, oh, Unknown's kind of mid now. You know, people are like understanding how to play against him. Definitely higher than him. I would say like, because it really depends. It's so like difficult to rate knowledge checks because like, if you're rating it based on how like easily you can stomp pubs, then he's really good. But if you're rating it on like comp DVD, DBDL, it's the semifinals, then it can get a little rough. Like he's a 6-stage killer. So for that reason, I kind of just put him like mentally in like mid to high B, sometimes low A, depending on where you are. I think most people would agree that like a comp tier list might look different than like a general pubs tier list or like any general tier list in general. I think that's one of the main problems of tier lists is that you're accounting for so many different skill levels and like not only that, but like, are you using your strongest add-ons? Vecna using Eries is like pretty strong, I would say, which might explain his poor performance in comp because they don't.
Because you can't use Eries. That's crazy.
Yeah, you're not able to use those add-ons. So it's just like accounting for like such a wide disparity of skill. So I think mid to high B kind of fits him because it recognizes the best of Vecna while also recognizing where he struggles, which I think is fine. I'm not really like the biggest fan of like tier lists because they're way too general. Here's my ranking of all DBD killers. Cenobite is at the C tier, like stuff like that.
Yeah, because it's C, no bite.
Okay, man. Okay, man.
So now I'm going to ask if maps factor into that really. Like for Vecna, what is his best and worst maps? What do you really enjoy playing on and why? And like, what do you think makes Vecna succeed or struggle when it comes to a map?
I think Vecna really struggles on maps where there's a lot of like resources like tightly bundled in areas. Like one of the main examples I will use, you know, like the Larry's loops where there's a pallet and then a window directly next to a pallet. Like those kind of he struggles with. It's also why I kind of think Larry's is one of his worst maps, just because there's like so much to watch out for. And there's like the really connectable windows that you could use in like any situation. You can easily just like cut away from the loop and go to the window. And the fact that Larry's is so big and it's indoor kind of hurts it a bit. Another good example is Badham. Badham kind of sucks for all killers, like let's be honest. But the easily chainability of most loops, usually when you're playing Vecna, you're using your spells to cut off options, right? If you use Flight of Damned at this certain time, you cut off this option, and they can only get out of it if they crouch. Maps where there's more options, like there's more windows, there's more pallets, like closely looped. I'm not talking about like on the map. I'm saying like directly next to each other to where if you're running, you're not only running to the pallet, but you also have the option to like change course into a window or a different pallet. Those kinds of loops you can really struggle with. And the example I brought up is those Larry's tiles with the windows and the pallets like literally directly next to each other. So he kind of does struggle on like Auto Haven for that same reason. I think specifically Wretched Shop. He kind of sucks on that one because there's so many things like right next to each other, and then there's like a kind of dead zone in the middle, but then there's a lot of things next to each other. Like you're not just running for a certain loop, like you can cut to a different one if you need to. And I think one of his best maps, actually, I think funnily enough, Gideon is kind of a good example of a map I really like, and that is also pretty good for Vecna because first of all, you don't have a lot of windows. They're mostly on the bottom floor, and there's not, even though there's like a lot of pallets, there's not a lot of opportunities where you can cut to a different loop. Like I think most of like the good loops are pretty isolated. Like, you know, the one where it's like you go up the stairs and then there's a pallet to your left. Like that one is super isolated. You're not cutting to another loop from that. You're playing that loop. And the fact that having a lot of pallets, which means there's a lot of mage hand opportunities, especially since there's like 5 god pallets and Vecna's like an atheist, so he doesn't care about them. And also the fact that there's so much elevation. Basically, anytime someone's going upstairs, you can hit them because there's a lot of stairs near loops. Like, you know, there's like the one with like the boxes and then there's a pallet next to the stairs. The fact that there's stairs just makes it so you can like drop down, fly the dams, not lose too much distance. They cannot crouch. Obviously, it's like having book at home. And also the double floor indoor nature of it makes it so it's really easy to use Dispelling Sphere because you're not only scanning the floor below you, but the floor you're on. Like you can scan 2 different floors at the same time.
2 for the price of 1.
2 for the price of 1. Get free Dispelling Sphere anywhere you go. And then obviously using fly is pretty good on that map because it's not like the biggest map. You can get to where you need to pretty easily. And the drop down. Oh, I want to talk about the drop down. You know, like the big drop down that drops into like the freezer area.
The pig vat, yeah.
That's a non-factor for Vecna. Like, you can place fly the damned in like the barrel they go down so they hit it while they're falling, or you can just fly through the window and by the time you complete your post-fly animation, you're already on the floor. You spend most of it just like falling down. And again, the fact that there's so many god pallets that you can lift up, like most killers would have to like kick it, but you can just like lift it up as Vecna. The fact that there's so much elevation, so much room to outplay, because a lot of the loops on that map are very cookie cutter. Like there's not much variation you can do. Like it's not like a 4-lane you can go like 3 different places at once. No, there's like one clear option for most loops on Gideon. And you know, as I said, Vecna's good at cutting off options. So if there's clear options, you know which ones you need to cut off because there's not like an opportunity for the survivor to just escape or like do something different than what you expected. Now, most of them are like low walls, pretty predictable to know what the survivor is going to do. And I think that's something Vecna is good at doing.
All right.
Yeah, I like Gideon. One of my favorite things to do is just like, you know, like how there's like drop downs with no stairs. I always go for like the drop shots where I just like fall through the floor and then use fly the dam to make it uncrouchable. Even if you miss, it's like insanely funny. Like you lose any and all pressure you had, but like if you hit it,
you look really cool.
You look really cool. Yeah.
And speaking of looking really cool, how do you feel about Vecna's cosmetics? Are there any options that you would like to have made specifically if you could have full executive control over what you would put into his skin collection? And do you think he currently has enough, not enough skins? And just what's the ArshieMeBob fit?
I would like the anniversary of that outfit to not be linked. Why did they link it?
Where?
It's hard to talk about this without me coming off as like, oh, bro, I'm so big and greedy, stealing all the skins from the Freddy mains, because Vecna has gotten a lot of skins based on his like release and the fact that he's a license. Like I think Nemesis and Vecna have like the same amount. How many skins does Nemesis have?
2.
Shit, we have 3. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh my god, we're so starved of skins, because we've gotten skins, right? And it's like good variety as well. Like we have the Statue of Liberty, we have Vecna with hair. Never run Vecna with hair. I think maybe something more like threatening, because I wouldn't say his outfits are like necessarily threatening. Like he's just kind of Vecna. Like one of them, it's like kind of like in the past a little bit, he has hair, he has like armor. And then the other one, he's like the Statue of Liberty. It's not even technically Vecna. It's a statue of him, which I mean, I guess is technically him. I don't know how D&D lore works, but and then the other one is just him in an anniversary outfit. It doesn't really add up lots. So I would like to see an outfit where he's like physically more threatening, kind of like what Dracula has with the true form skin. Maybe not to like that full extent, but something where he looks like noticeably different. Also, if they can give him a skin where he's like wearing just a thong, that would be also really good.
Okay.
That one might be for personal reasons, but yeah, something more threatening would be nice. But it's not like we're starved for skins, so I'm not saying like, dude, please give us skins behavior.
Need something more threatening. We need him to have his Vecniness out. Like, what are you talking about?
Listen. What I want and what I need are 2 very different things.
Okay, man.
Vec natural skin, community skin. When?
Took you a bit, but we got it mentioned.
Fucking love Vec naturals, bro.
That's gonna haunt me till the day I die.
What do you mean haunt you? You mean bless you? I love how Vecna's characterized by DVD fans, honestly. I have a friend who has a very interesting depiction of Vecna, and I love her. I think it's a very good depiction of Vecna. You know, I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like very feminine Vecna, woman Vecna. I think it's awesome. I think the fact that he's kind of like, you know, D&D is a very interesting license because technically it's whatever you want. Like he's just whatever you want. Like, this will do. Like there's so many depictions of him. I guess that can be like represented more in like going back to the skins question, more like extremely different versions of with him, like maybe not too different because like I assume DVD cares slightly about visual clarity. Slightly, quote unquote, but having like different depictions of him, like having a skin based on a statue that his followers made. That's really cool. I think that's really cool. That's a different depiction of him, literally depicted by different people. I think that's amazing. And the anniversary outfit is a depiction of Vecna by behavior. So I think having more of these depiction skins of him depicted as certain things by certain people in history and I guess in real life as well, I think that would be really cool personally. And I know a lot of people have been saying like human Vecna skin. I would like a human Vecna skin. I think it would look a bit weird. Human Vecna skin would be cool. It wouldn't be a bad thing. I've seen a lot of different, again, depictions of Vecna as a human, and I think they all look really cool. And I like the different depictions that he's had. Take a shot every time I say depiction. Holy shit.
I'll take a shot of water. I love being hydrated. And with all these depictions and those that tie more into his backstory, like you are obviously someone that enjoys Vecna's playstyle, but what about the backstory and the lore? I don't know how familiar you are with D&D and Vecna and their story in general. And again, as you said, it's kind of open-ended, but how do you feel BHVR has brought Vecna into DBD, and how do you feel like their lore kind of matches their gameplay? And just in general, how do you feel about Vecna, like as a character rather than just as a vessel to cast spells in the fog?
Well, I definitely did not know dick about D&D until I played Vecna. This is definitely not a situation of I'm playing the character because he looks cool, like visually or anything. I played Trickster because I really like the aesthetic of Trickster mostly, but Vecna was definitely I am in love with the kid rather than I am in love with the character. But the more I play him, the more I've played him, he's so fucking cool as a character, I'm not gonna lie. He's like, he has this like pure arrogance, pure strength, but also this like really, really big ego. Like, I think I saw a post that's like, bro thinks he's getting out of the realm or something. And I thought that was like really funny. I really like the way he talks. I like the way he's depicted. I have looked into a bit of D&D. I'm currently listening to Critical Role. So that's my contribution.
Yup.
But I've definitely started appreciating Vecna more as a character and more in his backstory. Like, I think he's really cool. I think the way he became a Lich was cool. He just fucking reads, bro. He's a nerd. He's the kid that got shoved into lockers.
That's how D&D wizards work, man.
I think it's cool. I really like it. I like the way he's so fucking corny sometimes, and that makes me love him. Like you can hear the book nerd in him. He's just like hungry for knowledge. He wants to learn more, and he's not getting out of the realm. Bro thinks he's stronger than the entity.
I want to know what generator the survivors are doing.
What the fuck is shoulder the burden? I am not limited by the laws of mere planks of wood.
That's why he has a mage hands. That's why I like making the joke that he's an atheist, because, you know, God palette, what is that?
Just put it back up.
Not today.
Put it back up.
He's like Vecna's like your mom that just tells you to put shit you're taking off the supermarket shelves back up. Like,
no, you cannot buy the Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, man.
But Mom...
You will eat Raisin Bran like a normal 5-year-old.
Flying out of that house. Get me out of here.
I didn't teach you how to fly yet, excuse me. No flying in and out of the house. Please do not mage hand the Roomba off the floor. In terms of his depiction from D&D, obviously I don't know like the most about him in D&D. Like, I'm not going to pretend to be like some ultra super mega fan. I'm definitely like on surface level knowledge, but from what I've heard from a lot of D&D fans, he definitely does not feel like Vecna from D&D kit wise. Like, he kind of just uses cantrips, which to my knowledge is like low level spells.
Well, I mean, yeah, but if you had access to like fireball and like just look at someone, snap your fingers and turn them inside out, like it wouldn't be fair for the game.
I know, yeah, like obviously it's my biggest theory that the Mark of Negation is like a Wizards of the Coast like necessity to...
No, it is 100%.
If you depict this guy as any more than world-ending threat, I will smite you. In terms of his like actual strength into Dead by Daylight, you definitely don't really like feel it. But in terms of like being a wizard mastermind who feels like I hit the books for 3 years, you're kind of cooked. Like I think that aspect is like genuinely kind of well implemented, just because like it does feel like you can outsmart your opponents and kind of hit I've been studying the blade. And I think that is cool. Although his power level is kind of, you know, not really well implemented, but I don't really expect them to well implement it because snap your fingers 4K. Wow, like the blight.
Yeah, exactly. No, Vecna is stupid OP in lore. Like, that's just how it works.
If he had his way, he wouldn't be messing around. He would not be messing around. Give this guy Eerie Book of Vile Darkness. He's learned to account for short people.
Yeah. I would say that Vecna kind of treats survivors like bugs in general. Like, if he had that much power, he would just, like, insta-kill everyone and be like,
I need to go back to my reading.
But speaking of bugs, does Vecna have any bugs that maybe aren't as known to the general public or anything that's, like, crazy that you might want to talk about?
Well, Spansling as a whole is kind of a bug. So that's a big thing. But surprisingly, he doesn't have that many, like, I would say, like, outstanding bugs. He used to have, like, a kind of a bug to where, like, you could drop you could drop the pallet on Vecna before he could M1, but that was revealed to be completely intentional. So I don't know what that is about. But most of his bugs are, like, kind of visual. He has a really big one where Dispelling Sphere becomes a ball of white and you can't see anything, and the survivor can't see anything either. They can see the Dispelling Sphere with a magic item, or they're getting actively detected by it. So that's kind of annoying, but most of his bugs are like purely visual. I would say a couple of the gameplay ones would be sometimes when you're swapping spells, you stutter a little bit, like you do a little jitter on the floor. That one is really annoying. But other than that, I have an entire Twitter thread I can go through, actually. Hold on. Oh, actually, I forgot about this. There's a bug on Vecna. So you know how Vecna's like hands emits particles when you're like holding and casting spells?
Vaguely.
Sometimes that'll happen even when you're not holding or casting a spell, and there's a bug to where you can see it through the wall. So like 20% of the time, if Vecna's not casting any spells, you'll just be able to see him through the wall, which makes it really easy to outplay him on like high wall loops. That one is probably the most notable gameplay bug. There's another bug to where if you get stunned, like the frame you use fly, you'll have perma fly movement speed. And you can M1 until the next time you cast Fly. I haven't seen many examples of that, but I know that's a thing. Sometimes Fly the Damned can insta-down survivors. They have to be running at a really weird angle, though. Like, they have to be going, I think, at like a 30-degree angle. It's like kind of replicatable. It's replicatable as in the knowledge to do it is known, but the mechanics to do it are very unreliable. But sometimes it's like Dracula, you know, Dracula flames insta-downing you. Like sometimes the stars align and two pillars just hit you, two skeletons just hit you. That happens like randomly. Like I would say like once every 30 games I see that. Sometimes Vecna forgets to swap his spells. Like it'll show that Mage is swapped, but actually it was a different spell. That one happens a bit more rarely and only really happens when you're like really quickly swapping spells. Like you do not need to be doing all this. But yeah, he definitely on the lesser side of bugged characters. Like most of them are just like slightly annoying visual effects.
Get slightly annoyed, fool.
Yeah, the king of really annoying visuals.
I remember like one patch, like the fly lines that play just randomly stayed there. I don't know why, but he regularly gets new visual bugs, and it's like not annoying, but it's like how did this even happen? Like what did they do?
I have kind of ran out of segues just with how the questioning's been bouncing around, so I do just kind of want to ask now, like, how has Vecna really kept up with the meta in Dead by Daylight? Like, as far as perks, maps, reworks, etc., like, things that aren't specifically changes to Vecna, like, how would you say, like, he is kept up with the times?
I would say, I mean, due to the fact that he's mostly a new character, obviously we haven't had much keeping up to do, but he obviously does struggle with, like, recent additions, like, Shoulder the Burden, and I think the anti-tunnel shit like also hurt him because he is an M1 killer who kind of just has to go for like who's in front of him most of the time. You know, he has map mobility, but he doesn't have crazy map mobility. He can't like just leave someone and then go find someone. I think he struggles from like the recent future near the same amount as most killers. Like obviously if your name wasn't like Blight, you're probably struggling, but I don't think it's like more or less than any other killer necessarily.
And do you think that maining Vecna has given you any transferable gameplay skills to other killers?
Not really. I mean, I don't really play other killers that much, and when I do, they're kind of like different from Vecna. I would say the transfer roll ability isn't that high, even though his spells kind of seem like, you know, they're taken from other characters' kits, but they work like completely separately. And as I said before, I mostly play like Vecna, not DBD. I still know how to play DBD, but I like mostly playing Vecna. So it's not really like transferable because I'm using the spells with the knowledge that I have the other spells in the back pocket to cover for the situations for when I can't with my current spell. So I wouldn't say, at least personally, there was a lot of transferability. Maybe if you're playing like Oni, because Fly feels kind of similar to Oni's dash, but like, no, that's about it. I guess like general knowledge with power zoning does kind of carry over, and like being patient with usage and like cutting off the survivor options, forcing them into situations where they don't want to be. So that kind of general knowledge, I guess. And also just like general M1 knowledge, because he is still an M1 killer. He still injures by hitting the M1 button. So obviously you get like the normal M1 killer stuff, mind gaming, hugging loops, not dying when the survivor spin bursts away, you know, normal stuff.
So not really anything specifically that you can take to other killers, because he's such a unique type of guy, and you usually play him knowing that you are Vecna and you can do more with his kit.
Yeah, he's kind of like, despite being like people saying oh, he's a combination of 4 killers, it's not like necessarily like you can't go and play artist just because you know how to use Fly the Dam. Like, I'm sure there's some like very subtle like zoning knowledge you can transfer over, but it's not like, dude, I play Dracula, I'm now like 10% better at Pyramid Head, you know? It's like the mechanics feel pretty different, because like Mage Hand is pretty unique. There's not really a thing like Mage Hands, I would say.
Yeah.
Same with Fly the Damned. I guess Fly could be, but Fly has like a different control scheme. And then Dispelling Sphere, I don't even know what you would transfer that to. So
Go, my sphere.
I mean, Trickster, if you like throwing shit at people.
The unknown throws a ball.
True. And it does track people, only if you hit them.
True.
You see them on the HUD.
We might be onto something here.
Wait, and like Fly is like the hallucination, because you can like teleport, which is like basically flying. That's all I have.
And speaking of being closer than we think, Dead by Daylight. That's it.
Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight's a game that's been going on for like 9-something years at this point. We just had the Springtrap anniversary like a little bit ago, and then now we're coming up on what, chapter 41?
Holy moly.
With the Crossu coming out, and just kind of a lot of stuff been going on. But this year specifically, we've been having a lot of very, very odd moves made by BHVR. And just in general, how long do you think Dead by Daylight is going to last?
Definitely longer than we think, in my opinion. I think just the fact that it is like Smash Bros, in the fact that you have like 50 different things. It's like you have fucking Kaneki. I don't know. When I started this game, I didn't expect Kaneki to be a killer even in like 20 years. I think due to the merit of that, I think we've got like at least like 10 years. I definitely don't think this game is like going. As much as I agree with people on like social media, and as much as I'm seeing like people quit, the reality is a lot of people just don't have social media. They just don't talk on social media. Like, we are the vocal minority. So like, I think as long as they're like not like every killer is now Blight and hooks take like 1 second, and like you can end the game in like 1 minute consistently, I think this game will stay like pretty alive. I think this game, the biggest threats are just like, you know, the stacking effect of being on older and older code is just kind of catching up to you being on spaghetti code, not being able to update the game, because every time you update it comes like 20 different bugs that like make the game even more painful to play, even not just for like content creators, people on social media platforms, but just for like average Timmy playing on his Xbox in his house. Like, if the game becomes worse to play, that's the biggest threat. But I think this game genuinely has a long way to go, and I think it's going to be around for like a long time. Like, I don't see it shutting down anytime soon. It's like there's definitely things that behavior needs to do to like lock in. Like, I'm not saying, oh, behavior is like fine doing things the way they've been doing it. Like, I definitely think some things need to change, but I don't think it's going to result in like, because like the death of a game, people like throwing like the game dying around. I'd say the game dying would be like end of service announcement, 10 people playing at any given time, like
Killer Clowns.
Yeah. And like one of my favorite games, Omega Strikers, is kind of dead, but it's still alive. It still has a community. It still has like, I think it has like what, 600 players at any given time,
and that's still like a lot of people if you think about it.
Yeah, it's still a lot of people. It's not like the 50,000 it once had, but would you really consider games like fight? You know what like a Discord fighting game is?
Mm-mm.
It's like a fighting game that's like relatively underplayed. Like, there's not a lot of people online at a certain time, but if you join its Discord, you're able to find matches really easily.
Yeah, okay.
That's like a Discord fighting game. I think like even if it reaches that point, I still wouldn't consider that dead. So I think my description of it might be a bit different, But end of service, I don't think that's coming for a long time. Definitely not in the next 10 years.
And it wouldn't be like for Dead by Daylight specifically, but what would make you stop playing Vecna for good?
Probably if they just like, I don't even know. That's such a hard question. I think I'm so hardwired to him to where I can endure like a lot of changes. Something that kills his skill expression and like kills his like knowledge check and like rewarding knowledge. Like if they made Fly the Damned like hit people on the floor like overnight, like sure that makes him stronger, but that automatically removes a lot of things I like to do in order to get that hit. Like it's an upward slope of trying to get that hit. But if that hit comes without having to do any of that fancy stuff, then I guess that would kind of drive me away from the character. Giving him more like really easy ways to use his spells while not rewarding the kind of optimizations you can do and like fun shit you can do to get hits and like make the most out of your spells. I guess that would kind of drive me away from him, but it's kind of hard to imagine how they would do that. So I don't think I have to worry, but hypothetically, that's what would drive me away.
All right. Well, I hope that you don't get driven away from your purple bald killer.
Just as you haven't.
And that's kind of all I have for this episode of Stars of the Fog. So obviously I want to say thank you for coming on and talking about the Lich.
I love Vecna. I will talk about him for years to come.
Now this little last segment, just kind of if you want to share with people all your links and stuff where people can find ArshieMeBob, the Lich extraordinaire. Anything you want to share, anything you want to talk about, anything you want to mention, time is yours.
Hell yeah, you can find me on YouTube, on Twitch. I definitely have a schedule. I kind of just like upload when I want. So I also post a lot on Twitter if you want to follow me there. I guess if you like Vecna, you should follow me on YouTube and Twitch. I think that would be really cool. I promise I'll start playing the game again soon. I've been taking a break because I find it really easy for me to get burnt out. Anytime I feel burnt out on Dead by Daylight, I just like stop playing until I feel unburnt out. I'll probably come back when the Krasu comes out. So soon.
And to you, whoever's been, watching, listening, enjoying this episode of Stars of the Fog, do go check out ArshieMeBob. All the links are here on your screen. And I do want to thank you specifically, dear watcher, for your support of both me and Arshie.
Thank you, watcher.
And of course, don't forget to, YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe. Go check out Arshie. And that's kind of all we've got now. So I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, morning, noon, evening, night, whatever it might be. I hope to see you in the next one. And bye-bye.
Bye.